Urtet, Remnant of Memnarch is the new Mirror commander and it is busted. Urtet is so versatile with so many different kinds of synergies that building a single deck for you doesn't do it justice, so I built 4 of them. Budget, +1/+1 counters, go wide, beatdown, smash, and degenerate combo stacks. Each one plays and feels differently. I do hope you enjoy this in-depth look into Urtet, Remnant of Memnarch, and if you do, be sure to hit the like button down below. His name is Steven, don't be shy, just give him a click. You can divide Urtet's power into its 3 unique abilities. Whenever you cast a mirror spell, create a 1/1 mirror. At the beginning of combat on your turn, untap each mirror you control. Pay 1 of each color and tap Urtet to put 3 +1/+1 counters on each mirror you control. Activate only during your turn. Each of these 3 abilities is insanely powerful in its own way, and I'm going to showcase them all to you in these lists. Now, no matter what kind of Urtet deck you're building, you will want a foundation of mirror creatures in it. With that in mind, there is a base package of 23 mirror across all 4 decks. Some decks have more mirror, of course, but the 23 I'm about to mention are used in all strategies in this video. We'll begin with the mana mirror. These are basically mana rocks with tribal synergy. You want to run all that are available to you. We have the original cycle of gold, silver, leaden, iron, and copper mirror, all included, and then alloy mirror, palladium mirror, and newcomer mirror convert, all fantastic. In addition to mana mirror, we have a number of mirror with abilities ranging from sometimes useful to basically necessary for our deck to function. Mirror Custodian and Kinsmith from Phyrexia All Will Be One are both great. Some card filtering and a Mirror Tutor, which will almost always be looking for Mirror Galvanizer, arguably the most powerful mirror to exist up to this point, included in all decks of course. Then Mirror Propagator makes more mirror, and Shimmer Mirror lets you play your mirror at instant speed. This next subset of mirror are the inclusions that either sacrifice themselves or do something when they die. Depressing, maybe, but useful. Mirror Retriever recurs an artifact, very important in all decks. Sire leaves behind another mirror. Parcel and Sarka might sacrifice in response to a board wipe, basically. And Perilous Mirror shocks something on its way out. Then, our last group of mirror that are included in every deck are 5 mirror that made the cut because we simply needed more mirror for what we're trying to accomplish. Darksteel Mirror doesn't die, Hover Mirror attacks and blocks well, Ichor Claw can win the game entirely on its own, believe it or not. Knighted Mirror will have double strike almost all the time, and Mirror Quadrupod has a big butt or big hands, whichever you prefer. All these mirror I just mentioned are in each of the 4 decks I'm going to talk about, so keep that in mind as I go through each strategy. Each deck has a core of useful mirror. Now, we'll begin with the budget Urtet Remnant of Memnarch strategy. Surprisingly fun, and it includes a sampling of each of the 3 strategies we'll be talking about afterwards. And you can build the entire thing for around $40, not including whatever Urtet's going to cost after release. Don't pay attention to pre-release prices, those are nonsense. Links are in the description for each deck list, let's get into it. This budget version of Urtet does a little bit of everything, so we'll begin with its first ability. We need more than our base package of mirror to trigger that +1/+1 mirror generator. We need to keep casting mirror. With that in mind, this version of the deck runs Core Tapper, Lodestone Mirror, Mirror Prototype, mainly to be cheeky, Mirror Scrabbling, Sun-Touched Mirror, and the ever-infamous Mirror Battlesphere. There will be games Mirror Battlesphere wins outright with that absurd on-attack trigger, it's so nasty. Because we need even more mirror, but we want them to be good, we have Adaptive Automaton, Bloodline Pretender, and Mirror Entity. The Automaton helps buff the little mirror, the Pretender just keeps getting bigger, and Mirror Entity should be familiar to a lot of you as something we call a win condition. A solid group of mirror and non-mirror mirror to trigger Urtet's first ability a healthy amount. Urtet's second ability is to untap each mirror you control at the beginning of combat on your turn. Its third ability is to use mana and tap to give all your mirror 3 +1/+1 counters, so I mean, yeah, let's just do that. Let's tap and untap Urtet over and over again. And why just Urtet? Why not Mirror Galvanizer too? Just tap and untap everything, all the time forever. Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, Kiora's Follower, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, Clock of Omens, Manifold Key, and Staff of Domination. We're basically going to be untapping all our mirror whenever we dang well please, especially with Clock of Omens and Galvanizer, so gross. Having this broken ability to effectively untap at will means that we should be using this power for evil, right? Who uses tap down power for good? No one. Anyways, we've included Shimmer Dragon as a way to utilize our tap manipulation for card advantage, and it'll basically be protected all the time, so the mana investment is relatively safe. Then it's really important that we don't have any friends, so we've included Glare of Subdual and Opposition. This is about the time you start to see the dark underbelly of what's really going on here. With the multitude of ways we have to untap all our mirror, including the free untap we get with Urtet at the beginning of combat, it will be easy as pie to manipulate opponents and disrupt anything we don't like. Opposition even taps lands, how disgusting is that? And while Urtet's untap is a static trigger that only happens on your turn, Mirror Galvanizer can do whatever it wants whenever it wants to do it, giving you so much political power at the table. Another avenue we'll be exploring in more horrifying detail later on. Changing focus to Urtet's third ability, for +1/+1 counter synergy to be at its most powerful, we need more Mirror to smack those counters onto. Brutaclad Telcor Engineer, a former Mirror commander, fits perfectly in this strategy. Mirror Smith, Genesis Chamber, and Shrine of Loyal Legions are all cheap and effective 1/1 Mirror token generators. The Shrine even synergizes with Core Tapper for accelerated charge counters. Once we have a massive mirror, both token and non, we need to take advantage of that by buffing as wide as possible, make all the 1/1s dangerous. Graz, Unstoppable Juggernaut, is a sweet piece of tech, turning all our mirror into base 5/3s. It's savage. Then we have Urza, Prince of Krug, for an easy +2/+2 across the board, and another mirror generator if you're flooded on mana. Tempered Steel is another huge buff, and the Antiquities War, while digging for you for 2 turns, is a win condition on that third lore counter, turning all your mirror into base 5/5s, effectively making a robot version of Jumanji for you. Steel Overseer is an easy include, great way to give power to all your mirror creatures, especially your little 1/1s. The Flesh is Weak is perfect for this deck, blanketing all your stuff with counters and inadvertently wrecking other non-artifact token strategies and many mana dorks. Then you can just win the game with Simic Ascendancy the turn after you drop it, no big deal. Only the most broken card for Urtet. You only need 20 growth counters to win the game, which means you only need to place 20 +1/+1 counters. Urtet places 3 on each mirror, so you need 1 activation of Urtet with 7 mirror on the battlefield, and that's the game. I have that on the board and the game hasn't even started yet. You basically begin with 7 mirror on the battlefield. That's how easy it is. Anyways, Simic Ascendancy is one of the most expensive cards in this budget version at around $2, but it has to be there. It's so outrageous. Oh, and then we have Inspiring Call, because who doesn't love a combat trick to protect against a board wipe while also drawing like 20 cards in green? Easy include. To help give the deck some staying power, Mirror Reservoir, Trading Post, Dance of the Mancha, and Wake the Past are in here as solid recursion options. Also, Boros Charm and Swiftfoot Boots make the cut for basically being high value for a cheap cost. Then we have miscellaneous power cards like Symmetry Matrix and Distant Melody to draw loads and refuel us, and Mech Titan Core because it's an absurdly easy mana sink and getting rid of 4 of your 1/1s is basically nothing to you. It's like a free 10/10. Then to round it all out, Organic Extinction is a reminder to the table that robots are the best, and Sculpting Steel is there to 3D print an artifact you want a second copy of. It's pretty standard stuff. To save time, I won't go over each land in all 4 decks, but suffice it to say you want to do the best Wooburg job you can with whatever budget you have. In this budget version, we're running the Vivid lands, cheap, produce all colors, and synergize with Core Tapper if necessary. Also running Crystal Quarry for some forgiving colored mana production, same thing with Path of Ancestry and Power Depot. With the Tri-lands, Triomes, Artifact Bridges, and more, you shouldn't have too many issues getting the colors you need. Remember, you have 7 mirror that produce colored mana. It isn't as difficult as you might think to reliably activate Urtet's Rainbow ability. For $40, I'm telling you, this deck can play, and more importantly, it's going to be a ton of fun to use, I promise. You get a little bit of everything that makes Urtet amazing. We're moving right along to the +1/+1 counters deck. Urtet's third ability is explosive and hard not to build around if I'm being honest. For a deck that focuses entirely on that ability, we need more mirror that generate or care about counters. Mirror Prototype regenerates zone counters for better or worse. Mirror Scrappling produces one when it dies. Sun Touched enters with a bunch. Plague Mirror deals Infect, which will come in handy, trust me. And Metallic Mimic is a nice non-budget inclusion we get to run here, giving everything +1/+1 counters. In addition, thanks to the unrestricted nature of this deck, we can be a little bigger with our mirror inclusions. Mirror Battlesphere makes an appearance here, as well as Lodestone Mirror and Taurian Mauler, a nice changeling for this type of strategy. While this deck is focused on +1/+1 counters, we want as many creatures as possible to have those counters. With each 1/1 mirror we create, we put that much more pressure on the board. Brutaclad, Mirror Smith, and Genesis Chamber all come back in this variation of the deck, but this time they are accompanied by some powerful friends. Mirror Matrix is a Mirror Anthem effect and creates mirror. Mirror Turbine also creates mirror and even tutors for Mirror Galvanizer, I mean any mirror you want. Then Mirrodin Besieged is a fantastic mirror token producer, doubling up on Urtet's first trigger. So we're playing Mirror, massing 1/1 Mirror tokens. Now we need to put +1/+1 counters on them, and Urtet can't do the job alone. Well, it probably can, but we like redundancy. Macaeus the Lunarch, Shalai Voice of Plenty, and Steel Overseer all blanket your creatures with counters. Shalai even brings protection with her. The Great Henge will be easy to cast after a single activation from Urtet, plus it gives counters and draws you cards. Cather's Crusade gets out of hand basically immediately, like virtually the second you play that stupid enchantment, it triggers a million times in this deck. Felidar Retreat is a nice piece of counterattack, granting vigilance, which can allow for some tap-untap shenanigans if you like. Gavany Township is a unique land made for this deck, no reason not to run it. And Simic Ascendancy is here once again because you win the game immediately out of nowhere without even trying at all. It's broken. We also want cards that give +1/+1 counters to things that are getting +1/+1 counters, like a stacking +1/+1 counter synergy nonsense cake. Corpsejack Menace, Branching Evolution, Doubling Season, and Hardened Scales all amplify the +1/+1 counter granting machine. These cards, even with only Urtet itself, so powerful. Then obviously we need cards that amplify the amplification of the granting of +1/+1 counters. Contagion Clasp, Contagion Engine, and Karn's Bastion proliferate. Tezzeret's Gambit and the new Vraska Betrayal Sting do as well, but they also draw cards. Broker's Confluence proliferates 3 times if you're greedy beyond reason. And Deep Glow Skate continues to be one of the most broken and infuriatingly valuable cards for this deck to ever be invented ever in the multiverse ever. There's also some additional counter synergy power in Clamavis that gives +3/+3 to every single mirror that has only been buffed by Urtet a single time. That's nasty. We have Inspiring Call again that draws 1,000,000 cards and protects your creatures, and Damning Verdict, a very mean board wipe that will never kill anything on your battlefield, basically guaranteed. Also, this may seem like a weird inclusion in this version of the deck, but Unwinding Clock is in here mainly to let your proliferating and Mer Creation artifacts do their jobs on your opponent's turns. That's just funny. We have some usual protection in Swiftfoot Boots and Heroic Intervention, Recursion and Wake the Past, and some Rampant Fixing and Farseek and Rampant Growth. These are in here because you really want to smooth your colors out the best you can, as you will be relying more on Urtet's ability in this version of the deck than really any other. Triomes, Trilands, the World Tree, Fetches, Shocklands, whatever you can afford, that's what you want here. This version of the deck builds up really large instead of super wide, with an obvious focus on +1/+1 counter synergy and making your mirror as humongous as they possibly can be. If you enjoy +1/+1 counter synergy, and especially if you like proliferating or any of that nonsense, this version of Urtet is definitely for you. For lack of a better name, this version of Urtet is called the Go Wide Beatdown Aggro Anthem Nonsense Strategy. Instead of focusing entirely on Urtet's third ability, we'll be using more Anthem effects and aggressive outrageousness to overload the board and swing at everyone recklessly until the game is over. We need more Mirror than the standard package to make this work. Mirror Entity and Mirror Battlesphere are back as heavy hitters. Then we have Lodestone Mirror, Metallic Mimic, Mirror Enforcer, Mirror Scrappling, Plague Mirror, Sun-Touched Mirror, and to show we're serious, Alpha Mirror. Yeah, that's right, it's getting real up in here. Because going wide means exactly that, we need to create more 1/1s than Urtet can by itself. Brutaclad is back along with Mirror Smith, Genesis Chamber, Mirror Matrix, Mirror Turbine, and Mirrored and Besieged. But this time, they have a new creature generation friend in Reflections of Lajara, creating copies of each mirror you cast, and since there are over 30 mirror in this deck, the Reflections will be creating a lot of mirror. We have a lot of mirror, now it's time to buff them up big time. We have tribal boosts for days. Coat of Arms, Door of Destinies, Obelisk, Avert, and Vanquisher's Banner are all classics and real strong, with the coat and door getting more powerful as the game goes on, and the banner drawing you cards as long as you're casting mirror creatures. But this is where it gets overly aggressive, on the border of downright offensive. We're playing Shared Animosity, yeah, we're being that player. This card turns all your mirror into real angry tiny robots. Your opponents will have to block or kill all these former 1/1s before they straight up get run over, and if that wasn't enough, if that wasn't aggressive or offensive enough, say hello to Haunted One. The card says whenever this creature becomes tapped. Urtet taps and untaps all the time, which means that you're giving your whole team +2 power over and over and over again, and undying just in case some of your non-token buds die. Everyone's gonna hate us so much, I cannot wait. Haunted One on Urtet, it's so mean, it's like the meanest. Yeah, we're not done boosting our mirror yet. Steel Overseer, Urza Prince of Krug, and Tempered Steel are all back, and with them comes Forsaken Monument. Not technically mirror specific, but it might as well be. Another +2/+2 to all our mirror, double colorless mana generation, and a bunch of life for casting half the deck. And if all this power and all this aggression wasn't enough, I made an executive decision and put Alebo, Ancient Witness in here because again, this deck is about being downright offensively powerful. Alebo is going to set your opponents on fire as you attack the entire table with haste. I'm getting all pumped up just going over this list and we're not even done yet. Speed helps aggression. I'm sure I saw that on a t-shirt somewhere. Herald's Horn, Mirror Reservoir, and Urza's Incubator are going to help accelerate the game state and keep our mirror fire running hot and fast, and if we're going to keep that up, we need fuel for this fire. Joyra, Weatherlight Captain, will draw on every mirror cast. Symmetry Matrix can activate on every mirror token, and almost every creature in the entire deck, Kindred Discovery, once on the battlefield, will draw basically as many cards as we could feasibly use, and Distant Melody is 4 mana for what, 10 cards, 20 sometimes? I don't think we'll be starving too much for cards is all I'm saying. This deck flies real close to the sun and you're putting everything you have on the table throughout the entire match, which means you are more susceptible to board wipes and control nonsense than some other strategies we've covered so far. Let's do something about that. Heroic Intervention is great and it's in here, but we need more. And they shall know no fear? Perfect. Aggressive and protective. Then Flawless Maneuver, our goal is to always have Urtet on the battlefield, so casting this for nothing will happen a non-zero amount of the time. And we have Swiftfoot Boost to help protect Mirror Dad. Sometimes we like death too, so Organic Extinction does make the cut, there's something about running a single board wipe that really appeals to me, especially when it won't kill most of our stuff. For special lands, look for aggressive but efficient cards. We need to get our colors: Glimmervoid, Spire of Industry, the World Tree, then again, the best you can do with your money. The deck list has a good land base at a modest budget, so upgrade where you can. Look, this version of Urtet isn't going to be for everyone, but if you're the aggressive player, the player who leaves it all on the table, who likes fireworks and dead bodies and warped metal littering the battlefield while everything is somehow on fire around you the entire time, then yeah, sure, this deck is probably for you. Go wide and trample everything to death. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Okay, if you made it to this part of the video and you're still here, that means you saw combo stacks and decided this is what you wanted. That probably means you're depraved or you hate everyone around you, and you're ready to take a journey with me to true degeneracy. Buckle up, children, it's about to get straight up awful in here. We'll begin with the combos. Infinite combo number 1, Cryptolith Rite, Mirror Matrix, Intruder Alarm, and 4 Mirror. Cryptolith Rite turns all your mirror into mana batteries. You tap 4 of them and pay 1 mana, activate Mirror Matrix. You get a 1/1 mirror that triggers Intruder Alarm. Untapping all your mirror, now you have 5 mirror. Tap all of them, activate Mirror Matrix, make a mirror, untap all of them, infinite tokens, and infinite colored mana. Infinite combo number 2, Cryptolith Rite, Clock of Omens, Mirror Galvanizer, 4 Mirror. Tap 1 mirror for mana, tap a second one for mana, and use the Galvanizer's ability to untap the 2 mirror you just tapped. 1 mana floating. Tap a mirror for mana again, 2 mana floating. Tap 2 mirror and use Clock of Omens to untap the Galvanizer. Use the 4th mirror's mana to use the Galvanizer's ability again, untapping them all. This creates infinite colored mana. Infinite combo number 3, you have 4 mirror on the battlefield, use 5 mana to activate Mirror Matrix, creating a 5th mirror while Mana Echoes is on the battlefield. The mirror enters the battlefield, triggering Mana Echoes and adding 5 colorless. Use that 5 colorless to activate Mirror Matrix, get another mirror, trigger Mana Echoes, get 6 colorless. Do this forever for infinite tokens and infinite colorless mana. Now that you have infinite mana and tokens, what are you going to do with that? Well, the infinite mana can go a few different ways. You can go the standard route and play Walking Ballista for 70 billion and kill everyone immediately, that's always fun. Or you could take the unorthodox approach. The approach that will literally embarrass and flabbergast everyone at the table, their families, their friends, and even strangers passing by outside. You can literally kill everyone at the table with a rocket launcher. No, this is not Fortnite or Call of Duty. This is Magic the Gathering, and we brought a rocket launcher to a fantasy card game. Basically, no one knows this card exists, but it's a hilarious mana sink and requires a turn to set up. Most people will think you're being funny or quirky or just don't care, but you know the truth. You know that this rocket launcher is going to blow up the entire battlefield, all the players, and everything they ever believed in. Do you want to win a game of Commander on the back of a mirror deck and a rocket launcher? Yeah, I think you do. Enjoy being literally the coolest person in your playgroup. You are welcome. If you want to win with infinite tokens, besides swinging in for the win of course, you can use Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge, to do that immediately. His first ability will kill everyone simultaneously and you'll gain 11 bajillion life, not that it matters. Point is, you have options on how you want to use your infinite power. Just remember that if you choose to put non-symmetrical payoffs in the deck, you'll be taking the responsibility of choosing who to kill first, so fair warning. Combo decks need a lot of support, and this one's no different, but the way it goes about supporting itself is a little, okay, yeah, never mind, it's a lot degenerative. Glare of Subdual and Opposition are back, and this is where they belong. This deck is the one that needs the help the most. Locking down opponents' creatures, their artifacts, their lands. We're protecting our combos by putting our opponents in prison. To help this prison oppression, we're running Defense Grid, Stasis, Static Orb, and Winter Orb. Yeah, this isn't your grandma's commander deck. The goal is to assemble and execute our infinite awesomeness while the opponents are busy trying to get out from under the ridiculously heavy weight we put on their shoulders. These cards slow the game down to a crawl for your opponents, especially when you have opposition and glare to restrict the resources that do get through these oppressive cards. After all, the difference between you and them is that you have a commander that untaps your entire creature base, including a bunch of mana producers, and they probably don't have that. So we have a prison plan to deal with the opponents, but these types of cards don't stay on the battlefield forever, so we need to be proactive about assembling our rocket launcher plan. Since we are a combo deck and this is a 99 card format, we do need tutors in a lot of them. Demonic, Diabolic, Grim, Profane, and Vampiric all make the cut. They're not the most exciting cards, but without them, we can't rocket launcher our friends' faces off, so we do what we have to do. Fabricate and Mirror Turbine will help get the key artifacts and Mirror we need for our combos, and Muddle the Mixture is another nice way to get Cryptolith right, or function as a counter if that primary purpose isn't needed. Good flexibility here. In addition to tutors, we have to make sure we get enough Mir on the battlefield, enough lands to play what we need, gotta have card draw and filtering. Ponder, Preordain, Thoughtcast, and Brainstorm are some classic draw spells that will help us out. We also get to run Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study because it's not like we care about our reputation, am I right? Then there's a large amount of aggressive card filtering to get us where we need to be. Seize the Spoils, Tormenting Voice, Big Score, Frantic Search, and Thrill of Possibility. We need to be aggressive in finding our answers, so card filtering is effective here, plus some of it gives us treasure, and that works for me. Even with our prison proactivity, protection and insurance are both important and must-haves in a deck like this. Arcane Denial, Counterspell, and Swan Song, along with the aforementioned Muddle, will function as our counter protection. That's as many spots as we can dedicate. Then for redundancy and insurance, we have Mirror Maid, the Mycosynth Gardens, and Mirror Reservoir. They become copies of the important cards we're using, or bring back Mirror Galvanizer from the bin. Then we have a little Mana Acceleration and Smothering Tithe because again, everyone hates us anyways, Soul Ring and Felwar Stone along with Plague Mirror as the only additional mirror we're running outside of our base mirror package. I also want to mention some lands. The World Tree is great for fixing, but I'd also look at cards like Academy Ruins and Buried Ruin for some recursion, and Inventor's Fair for another artifact tutor. I can't really explain to you just how fun it is to win a game with a card that literally no one around you has ever heard of, and Rocket Launcher is going to be that card for some of you, I promise. If you have even a passing interest in building this type of unorthodox prison stacks combo deck, give it a shot and see how it feels. You get to win games seemingly out of nowhere with weird cards that people did not expect. When they see you sit down to play Urtet Remnant of Memnarch, I don't think they'll be expecting this type of strategy, especially when that domes everyone in the face with rockets. It's so good. It's just so good. I can't really get over how awesome it is and how much I love it. 4 different Urtet Remnant of Memnarch deck lists, 4 different playstyles, 1 amazing Mirror Commander. There are a million different directions you could take any of these lists I've mentioned, so please be sure to check them out in the description and let me know what kind of Mirror decks you're brewing up. And if you made it to the end of this video, leave a little smiley face in the comments to let me know that you are truly one of the Mirror loyalists. Only people who comment a smiley face are part of the cool robot club. It's true, ask anyone. I do hope you enjoyed this in-depth Urtet guide, and as always, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.